Are you ready? We'll go to the next one. Kathy Pulaski, and it's about roads, is that correct? There's nothing on the agenda tonight about roads, so unless you get back on, you're put back on the agenda or anything about roads, we can't allow that tonight.
Well, I called to ask to be put on the agenda.
The next one, I can't really read the name, Delleaine. Citizen Cosby.
So you're telling me I can't address anything?
Correct. Mr. Williams? Yes. You just want to address the board?
It's gonna hit the fan now.
Come on up. And what's the purpose?
I've got several subjects I'd like to talk to you about tonight and on the agenda.
Well, you're on the agenda. Do you want to talk now or wait till agenda time to do it?
I want to hit just a couple of points just to get you thinking about them.
Okay, go ahead.
Can we come up here?
Yeah, we've got several more wants to speak. If you don't care, just take 2 or 3 minutes.
I'll do it quick.
Go ahead.
So I just got a few notes. But one of the things I want to talk about is some of the stuff in the planning. I'm not on this time on the cabin stuff, but some of the stuff in planning. Something to do with some educational programs for our kids to teach them about our natural resources in the school system. And then, of course, tourism, and then some of our roads and some of the issues with junk cars, skin roads. I'm sure you've heard that.
Mr. Chairman, can we ask that you go to the phone so that...
Sure. Yeah, if you don't care, so they can hear you. So they can hear you better.
Can y'all hear me now?
Yeah, it's better.
Do I need to go back over all that?
All right, you're good.
Okay. Well, that's basically pretty much it, and just some of the roads and some things that I think that need to be improved. So nothing major.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, David. Thank you.
Another one on the list is a JC, not sure the last name. Are they present? Says from Cocke.
Yeah, that's me.
What are you wishing to speak on?
I want to ask a few questions.
Well, it depends on what you want to ask about. What do you want to ask about?
Yeah, I want to, I worked on my job 40 years.
Sir, again, what do you want to speak about?
I retired, I went over to Wilton Springs.
So you work at
Worked over at
landfill, sir, there's nothing on the agenda tonight about the landfill, so unless you get on the agenda, then we can't allow that tonight. And we're gonna move on.
I don't want to talk about the landfill.
The next thing on the agenda tonight is, next one is Ralph Saltzman. Is he here? And you're on the agenda tonight, so if you want to speak now or you want to wait your agenda time, it's up to you. Go ahead, that's fine.
Hello, I'm Ralph Saltzman. I've been a resident of Hartsville for 27 years. My wife was born and raised in Hartsville and resided there as an adult. We have 4 children. 8 years ago, we bought a house and purchased our dream home. It was a farmhouse that was built in 1900. Needed a lot of work, and I've got pictures of when we bought it. Needed a lot of work, and we fell in love with it and envisioned our grandchildren coming to this house. After spending 2 years renovating, we were able to move in. We often refer to it as a labor of love. The property around our home had been in my wife's family for over 60 years. Unfortunately, with the death of my wife's uncle, the property beside our home was sold, and it was sold to a lady that intended on building a house there. She had a garage, built it. Then after her plans changed, the property was sold to a couple out of Florida. While introducing myself to them, they made me aware that their plans was to put a campground beside my home. It's obvious that their intentions are to have RV lots to rent for people to live in. We have lost several nights' sleep and really have no idea what to do. Our county has failed us by not having restrictions in place to prevent this. So now, we have two choices. We can either sell our home that we love and have spent years working on, knowing we will lose money because it's going to buy a home beside Henry. Or we can stay there and live with the riffraff coming in and out while our young boys, we have one that's 8 and one that's 12. Can't feel safe playing outside. We pay our land taxes for years. Our property is now losing its value to people who will not be paying a dime in land taxes to live in this RV park next to it. Meanwhile, the Florida couple profits tremendously from what they're doing. I'm here today to plead my case and beg you for your help with this situation. Put yourself in our shoes. And please help me and my wife get this off. I have pictures of the house that we bought then, 8 years ago, and what it looks like now. And then I also have pictures of the property that they're wanting to put. You want to pass it around, you can look at it.
And if you want to pass it to the board, let them look at it, fine.
Property that they bought, put in
And what's the address?
there. My address is 195 Upper Road.
Upper Road?
The address of that property is 109.
109.
109.
Yes.
All of y'all is
Mr. Sosman, I got a question for you.
Yes.
How many acres is the property next to your property? That where
It's
the
approximately close to
so-
6.
But all 6 are not feasible. One part of it.
Let's stay with one speaker.
Sorry.
There are 6 acres there, and only approximately 4 acres of it is usable. The other is on a real steep hillside, and it's, I'm guessing, but it's close to 2 acres on there.
Thank you, sir.
Anybody else have any questions?
I do, so, they've not started anything yet. It's just.
There is a garage built there, but that garage was built 2 years ago, but, 2 years ago. They do have power, but they do not have water or sewer.
I would like to say, Mr. Saltzman is, although he's remarking before the meeting starts, he is on the agenda. So if anyone has any questions for him now, or if you would like to stay, you can call back up at that time, if they wish to. And I would like to say that this story is by no means unique. We get this call several times a week in our office. This is a plague. This is something that we have a moral obligation to take care of our citizens, to try to do our best to solve this in a quick manner if we can. Because we're getting calls, this is one set of calls, the other set of calls we're getting is people calling from out of state saying, I want to set one of these arrangements up where you have, and I'm looking at 100 acres, or 50 acres, and I'm looking to do 100 units or 200 units, 300 units. And we get that call several times a week as well. And if we don't do something, I mean now, not soon, but now, we will lose our county. And we don't have years, we don't have months, we have weeks to solve this.
I got one more.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Sosman, the 6th District of Cocke County would like to know, do you know, or your wife know, if there has been any licensing purchased for the property that you are talking about?
We checked last week, and as of last week,
There was
no license.
You're saying no license, okay. Thank you, sir.
Instead of him, does anybody else have any questions? I don't want him to have to stay if you don't need to. Is everybody good? Everybody understands the situation? Thank you, Ms. Soft.
Thank you, Mr. Sosman.
Thank you.
All right. Danny, Mayor Rob, Matthew Brent, special use purpose.
I will. Heavenly Father, thank you for this beautiful day. Thank you for allowing us to be here. We ask, Father, that everything we say and do in this meeting will be pleasing to you and be pleasing to the Cocke County people. Thank you for loving us and taking care of us. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
We'll call this meeting to order, and the first thing on the agenda tonight will be the roll call, so at this time, if you could vote present, please. Could you tally that, please? All right, next thing on the agenda tonight will be the approval of minutes. So we have a motion to approve by Mr. Templin, seconded by Ms. Blazer. Any discussion? If not, at this time, vote aye or nay. All right, that motion passed 14-0. Next thing on the agenda is elections, appointments, and reports. We have notaries, Tina A. Gann, Lisa Ann Corey, J. Richard Pagana, Heather A. Townsend, Rico A. Campbell, Robin Y. Munn, David Hartshower, I guess I just killed that. But anyway, Barbara Wild, and Joshua Noel Spurgeon. We have a motion to approve. Motion by Mr. Esslinger, seconded by Mr. Verdahl. Do we have any discussion? If not, vote at this time. We just lost the screen. That motion carried 14-0. You want to adjust it now before we go on further? Okay. All right, the next thing on the agenda, in the matter of accepting the following quarterly reports from county clerk, the copy was enclosed. Do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Ms. Blazer, seconded by Mr. Vassar. Any questions or discussion? Hearing none, we'll vote at this time. That motion carried. In the matter of accepting the following annual report, Circuit Court, County Clerk, and General Sessions Court. Copies were enclosed. All right, do we have a motion by Ms. Blazer, seconded again by Mr. Vassar? Any questions? If not, we'll vote at this time. That motion carried. D, in the matter of any committee reports. A, budget.
Mr. Chairman, the Budget Committee recommends the approval of the attached transfers and amendments and ways of reading the same for the county.
So we have a motion to approve those by Mr. Hudson, seconded by Mr. Esslinger. Any questions or discussion? If not, we'll vote at this time. All right, that motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, the Budget Committee recommends the approval of the attached transfers and amendments and ways of reading of the same for the school system.
All right, we have a motion to approve by Ms. Ball, seconded by Mr. McMahon. Any questions, discussion on school board transfer? If not, we'll vote at this time. All right, that motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, the Budget Committee recommends the approval of the attached lease for election space.
That motion is made by Mr. Vassar and seconded by Ms. Ball. Is there any questions or discussion about this? About leasing the space? Ms. Vassar?
The only thing I would like to say about this had to be a last minute decision. We were pushed in between a rock and a hard place. And I swore when I took office as the 6th district that I would never make such an impact decision on the spur of the moment. However, I had no choice, sir. I had to vote for it, or our county would have been in jeopardy on our voting. We would have had no place to vote, or excuse me, early vote.
And I apologize. I'm sure that was probably discussed at the last budget meeting. I was not able to do the work. Is there a plan going forward? I guess is my question.
Ingalls.
Okay. All right. Any other questions?
So the plan is going to the Ingalls. Okay, thank you.
Any other questions?
So this is just for this year? For 2 years? Or how long
Yes,
is it?
the lease is for 2 years. This is to get us through the building and planning stages of Ingalls. Josh County
Okay,
said
so
secure 2
2
years
years.
because, I mean, we're still not, I mean, we're in the planning stages of Ingalls, but we're not constructing yet, so we want to secure that space for a significant time so we knew we had space until Ingalls was ready.
Any other questions? If not, we'll vote this time. All right, that motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, the Budget Committee recommends the approval of the attached capitalization policy.
We have a motion to approve. Motion by Mr. Vassar, we have a second. Mr. Hudson, any questions? Hearing none, we'll vote at this time. That motion carried.
Mr. Chairman, the last thing that came out of Budget Committee, you will see attached, this doesn't really require an approval, but it does need to be read into the minutes that these were dispersed to you all. You have two letters. The first is your acknowledgement that the comptroller's office did approve the $1.4 million to purchase the landfill property and the fire department capital outlay. And then your second letter is to acknowledge that the state comptroller's office has approved the 2024 fiscal year budget. And that's all I have.
Any questions?
Sir, I'd like to compliment the sheriff's department. They received some SRO grants and another grant to get some equipment put in the jail, and they were able to put back $30-some thousand back into the general fund. And I compliment you on that, CJ. Good job.
Sure. Anybody else? Thank you. All right, do you have anything for sanitation?
No, just here.
Okay. General committee? Public safety?
We did have a meeting, and we invited all the volunteer fire departments to have input and came up with a resolution. I think we should have a copy of that resolution. We'd like to go on tonight.
Are you making a motion? We
Yeah,
approve the
I like,
resolution?
yeah.
All right. Okay. Do we have,
And the county lawyers here who may need to ask
as
questions.
soon as they get this flipped over to that, then we will. Okay, we have a motion to approve on this, on the tablet. Is there a split? Is it allowed you to do that? Because I'm not seeing it.
No.
All right, we're back. Now, Ms. Blazer, want to make a motion to approve? And do we have a second? Mr. Miller? Any questions or discussion? If not, we'll vote at this time.
Just let me say one thing. A few of the commissioners just said that they wanted to make sure that the fire departments and everybody knew that the money will be paid on every year that goes to the fire department. It's just like all that it still comes to the CLB through the budget.
Okay. All right, is that all?
Yes.
Are you sure?
Yes, sir.
All right. We'll vote at this time. Sorry. All right, that motion carried 12-2. Do we have anything for purchasing? Then a matter report from the county mayor.
Ladies and gentlemen of the CLB, I just have a few items for you. Okay, purchase of the landfill property. You'll see in your package the contract for that purchase. And as we said before, we have done our due diligence. That land has been examined, and it's going to be 4 to 11 years of extended life without getting any of the rock out there. If we can get the rock out of that, then it's going to be significantly longer. So this is essentially government standard or permanent solution to this problem. And we're also working on some solutions to get that rock out of there sooner than later. You see the survey, you'll notice it was pointed out to me by one of the commissioners that it says no survey. That just meant that there was no survey that was conducted just for this sale. We do have one that was from less than a year and a half ago. So we do have a current survey for that property to make sure that everything is looking good on that. Does anyone have any questions for me regarding this purchase of this property? Yes, sir.
Mr. Mayor, did everything meet your standards in the mayor's administration for this property? Are you okay with everything?
Yes, we've consulted the state, we've consulted engineers, and we've consulted pretty much the solid waste people. Anybody that has anything to do with this, we talk to them, and they all concur that this is a good move for the county. We also, there was one issue with the access road to the cell tower on that property, and so we got that verified. We can move the road that accesses that, and it's going to open up a lot more space for us, which would actually take that forward 11 years and take that even further without even moving the rock. So, but again, we are looking at solutions to with that rock, and we'll be reporting to you hopefully shortly on some of that.
Thank you, sir.
4 to 11 years without removing the rock, is that,
Yes.
so if we can't get the rock out 11 years, is max?
If we can't, it is max, but we have some very good possibilities about getting that rock out, and potentially we can do that without cost of it.
Right.
Thank you, Commissioner. Anyone else?
Any other questions?
Well, we too, if we can start some space saving ideas, to maybe not throw everything in there and figure out a way to rehab some of that stuff, that might save a lot of space too, and you can run a little longer.
That's a great point, Commissioner. One of those measures, I was talking to Director Henry, is, of course, this is another one of those where you have to spend money to save money, but it would be a grinder that would take the bulkier things like your mattresses and stuff like that, and grind it up so that it doesn't take up the big space. It would actually be more efficient filling. So we're looking into that, and we'll get back to you all once we want to get this chunk finished. So this is going to be the big thing. Going forward, we're going to definitely keep you all abreast of our research on these matters, as well as the sanitation.
Is there a way to find out about the rock before making the purchase, or do you have to purchase it first? Because then if you purchase it, my only concern is you can't get the rock out.
We've had
Just paid over $1.5 million for 11 years.
That's an interesting point. We've had some firms come in to look at that, and that rock is very treatable.
The worst case scenario, we'll get the rock out, and we have to pay a little bit.
Worst case, we're paying. Best case, we don't have to pay for it. And that rock is value.
We'll go with the dynamite.
Yeah, exactly. Worst case, we have.
Sure. Thank you.
All right,
That's all for that portion. I don't guess, do we call for the vote for that now, or do that? I guess we-
then,
Yeah, okay, I guess.
so do we have a motion to approve? Motion by Mr. Esplinger, seconded by Mr. Verdal. Any other questions or discussion before we vote? Hearing none, we'll vote this time, please. All right, that motion carried. Next, Mr.
Next, we have as you all know, the opioid settlement has been reached, and the county is receiving a share of the money given to the state. And what has been recommended by the state is that each county enacts a task force made up of people from different functional areas on the best way to spend that money, which has to be spent towards preventing opioid addiction or eliminating it. So what we've done is you see on the part B here, we've got the settlement is the following individuals: C.J. Ball, who's going to represent law enforcement; Judge Mark Strain, who's representing the judicial system; Scott Williams, who's the CEO of the local hospital; and a representative from the Cocke County School System. That's probably going to be Mandy Moore or Casey Kelly. Someone in the school system, and that way that's going to cover a lot of these functional areas that are impacted by this. And they're going to form, much like the planning commission does on their matters, they're going to form recommendations to bring to the CLB to approve and how to spend these opioid monies. Make sure that we do all we can to fight this opioid problem academically.
Say that money's coming from the state.
It's actually coming through the state. It's a legal settlement from the, if you've seen the movie Dope Sick, the folks who created these drugs got everybody hooked. There's a class action lawsuit, and Tennessee gets a piece of that, and then they dig that.
Do you know how much our county will get?
Remember how much the county did? It's paid out over,
It's been out over several years, and it's relatively $20,000 to $30,000 a year, but it's paid out over like the next 20 years.
I want to say 20 years.
It's a significant amount of money. And it has, this is probably more information than you need, but there's different buckets based on which lawsuit it's attached to, and each one comes with its own set of strings and newspapers. So these people have theirs worked out. So.
And we have said this, we have arranged this so that this group can be working closely with the state to make sure that what recommendations they bring to you all will be vetted. With that said, Mr. Chairman, I'll open for a vote.
Okay, do we have a motion to approve this board for this task force? Mr. Vassar, and then seconded by Mr. Esslinger. Any other questions or discussion? If not, we'll vote this time, please. All right, that motion carried.
And lastly, on the mayor's comments, Mr. Chairman, we've updated the county public policy records, or public records policy, excuse me. And this essentially is it's kind of housekeeping. If you want to know what the difference between the old policy and the new one is, what I would want to know if I were in your position. There just did some housekeeping things, such as it stated that there could be a charge for record reproduction. So what we did is we looked and see what the other counties and municipalities were charging. We just put the actual number to that, because in some cases people are asking for hundreds of pages, and that's a kind of resource, and so it's just let them know what the fee would be up front. Another one is we specified which departments and offices are going to have their own policy, such as the sheriff's department, and that will, when somebody calls and wants records from the sheriff's office, until now, what this does is allows them to call and get those records directly from the sheriff's department, so that it speeds that process, makes it more efficient for the taxpayers, and it reduces the risk of us going over the window of providing those records once requested. And one other item, and there are a couple of small things that we didn't have anyone named. We do have someone named in our office to collect that. That's Ashley Sheldon. She does a great job. And lastly, the other big change in that would be if anybody needs video, especially files that are too big to be emailed, it requires them to bring in their own sealed and unopened thumb drive, so that we can put that information on there and get those records during the time we have. And the county won't have to pay for those thumb drives. It has to be new and unopened, because if it's not, then you could have a virus or something. That essentially is the heart of the changes to that policy. Again, more of a housekeeping, just as we're going through things, we're finding, whenever we find stuff that needs to be fixed, we're just fixing it as we go. Mr. Chairman. Unless anyone have anything for me on that, I'll turn it over to Mr. Chairman.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for that. Thank you for my.
All right, the next thing on the agenda is a matter report from the county attorney. Do we need to vote on that policy change?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's back up. I'm sorry. Do we have a motion to approve that policy change? Gala and seconded by Mr. Burdock. All right, any other questions? All right, let's vote on it this time, please. All right, that motion carried. Now, to number 7, the matter report from the county attorney.
I've been asked to put together a zoning ordinance for the county. In order to do this, there are several steps that have to take place. The first of which is that the planning commission has to certify the ordinance in the map. However, because their meeting is tomorrow, I'm just asking that there are motion, sorry, I apologize. After they approve that, we have to have a public hearing. So since it's tomorrow, and just to make this move forward, I'm asking for a motion to go ahead and call that public meeting on the condition that the plan, the ordinance, and the map are certified to pass tomorrow next meeting of the plan commissioners.
Okay, so do we have a motion, Mr. Eslinger?
Mr. Chairman, I'd like to make a motion to call a public hearing on the zoning ordinance and map on the condition the planning commission certifies the map, the ordinance and the map prior to the hearing being called.
Okay, Ms. Blazer, you heard that motion. You put in for the motion, so that is the motion you want to make, exactly as he read it off, correct? All right. So, and that motion is seconded by Mr. Bass. So this public hearing, the 25th, that'd be Friday night,
September.
September 25th.
The public meeting has, the public hearing has to have 30 days notice so that the public can come and view everything.
Okay, so September 25th, correct. All right. Any questions?
So what are we, zoning? I mean, what are we looking into zoning?
It would be the entire county, and it's very, very basic. It's residential, agricultural, commercial, the national parks, and industrial.
Any other questions?
How does the public?
All over, Ms. Blazer, have your comments.
I was gonna ask the mayor, do you think this, which, I mean, I feel like this is gonna help our county move forward, especially with all the issues that we're having in the policy you're getting. So you're saying 30 days, now are we gonna have a meeting to okay that after that, or are we gonna have to wait till October, or are we gonna do that sooner?
We have to have the public hearing before any votes can take place.
Right.
The public has to have a say.
Right.
And then what we could potentially do is at the next CLB meeting, go ahead and set a date for a call meeting within a week notice.
So we,
You potentially.
so we could do it in September, maybe,
Potentially, yes. Y'all think of when you want to call that?
so we can call a meeting in September after that date, the public's done all of this. I mean, I just see a real urgency for this. This is why I'm asking those questions, because I get people, complaining about this, and of course, the gentleman who spoke earlier is in my district, and I've talked to him about that, so, I just feel like we've got to do something for our county to help it along. So, I was just wanting to make sure that if come September and we have that, we would possibly do that earlier than waiting until October and giving another month to go.
You could potentially call that meeting as early as the 28th of September.
Okay, all right, I just wanted to make sure that, or if that was something we were looking at in case.
Mr. Bass? I'm sorry, Mr. Burdock.
How will the people be notified?
Put me in the paper.
Okay.
Do paper radio, those?
The law is just the paper for this, but there is very specific for this kind of thing, very specific. They will be able to go and look at the map and the ordinance somewhere, which will be laid out in the paper, so they can go and view what is going to go on.
Okay, anybody else have any questions? All right, we have a motion on the floor. Mr. Bassett, did you want to make another comment?
I just wanted to make a statement for the planning commission. The 6th district stands behind the planning commission. They work very hard on this. I don't know what they've come up with, I have no idea. But I have been to their meetings, and they show a lot of interest for the people of Cocke County. And I'd like to thank them for doing so.
Anybody else? If not, we'll vote on that motion at this time. All right, that motion carried. Thank you. In a matter report from County Commission. Sir?
I just, I was at the fair the other night, and, it had been raining, you know, we don't have a fair unless it's raining. And, I got into some marshy area, and somehow I ended up with my fake leg above my head. So I don't know what happened, but I had a couple great dickens, and I just looked like, who did I tell you who they were? You remember Franco? Yeah, Franco and, who's the other one? I'm sorry. Stephen Hancock. I just wanted to throw their names out. You know, our deputies, they get a bad rap. Deputies across the country get a bad rap. Our law enforcement gets a bad rap. And I know this was minor, but I don't know if I'd have gotten that. I mean, it was an awkward situation. Little Franco, he weighs 120 pounds wet. He had me picking me up. So, I mean, something happened with him. But anyway, I do appreciate what they do for me.
Thank you. Anybody else? If not, we'll move on. In a matter report from Cocke County Partnership.
I'm here. If you must have any questions about the court, the only thing I'll add is we're nearing the last couple of days of completion on the first phase of the park, the condition park. We've now stopped there, taking a look, looking up. We notified our engineers, but we'll be ready for bid on the second phase. We'll walk through the second. We'll see that.
Any questions? Tom?
Do you all have anything lined up to go on these pads?
We have two that have requested, we have two prospects that have requested contracts on the path, so we're confident about price. I'm waiting on their job count and capital investment, so I can tally that up and support needs of the offer.
Can you say whether or not it's manufacturing jobs or not?
Both of them are manufacturing.
How long will it take to find out once, say they do a contract or whatever, what's the time frame?
Great question that I don't have an answer for right now. These things take, I've never seen one take, to be honest with you. Sometimes they take a couple months, and sometimes they can take, both of them will be looking at 90 days due diligence.
So how many jobs are you looking at?
First site, this time you're looking at, there's Chicken Grill. The second one is looking at the video run.
Any other questions? Thank you, Luke. In a matter of report from Priority Ambulance Service, that copy was enclosed. Matter of report from Keep County Beautiful, that copy was enclosed. Matter of report from Cocke County Corrections Partnership, no movement, Mr. Mayor, correct? Down there? Nothing on the partnership, corrections partnership, right? Okay, for approval. All right, in a matter of approving an agreement for mental health patient transports, CJ Falls, copy was enclosed.
Do you have any questions on that? We do have Priority, have signed off on the agreement to allow a secondary ambulance service to come into Cocke County on the basis of mental health transport only. They will be fully funded by healthcare insurance, and anything, if anybody that has a need of mental health transports that does not have insurance, the grant that we got approved and have contract with will actually pay for those transports. And that's going to free up the law enforcement officers who have to travel back and forth for mental health transports. They'll be transported by Amerimed instead of the sheriff's officer Priority having to take an ambulance off the road and get transported. And that's what that's for.
Where's the transport usually take place to?
We usually get tied up and going from here to Cookville. There's a place there, we're gonna go to Moxon Bend. If it's state insured, they go down here to Moxon Bend in Chattanooga. We have to go to the VA in Johnson City. We've had to go as far as Memphis. We've kind of bucked on the Memphis trip. You know, it takes 2 officers to go, plus motel rooms, so we've kind of stayed away from that. But we go as far as Chattanooga with all mental health transports. Unless it's private insurance, then we go to Peninsula. But it ties up, and it actually ties up your hospital. Because, they got 5 or 6 on bed watch, that's 5 or 6 emergency beds, it's, used because we can't transport because it takes so long to get them sick. Now, this is non-custodial people only. If they're in custody, we're still responsible for transport. But the mental health grant purchased the vehicle before that, so we'll use that vehicle for that.
Sure. Do we have a motion to approve that? Motion from Ms. Blazer, second by Mr. McMahon. Any questions? If not, we'll vote at this time. All right, that motion carried. Mr. Williamson is on the agenda. Is he still here? Is there anything else you'd like to add, sir?
Yeah.
Come on up.
Good afternoon, gentlemen. My name is Kelly Williamson, and I think most of you know me. One of the things that I want to talk about is a plan for Cocke County. And I'd like to see you guys adopt, I know you're talking about the planning and zoning, and we do need that to some degree, a huge degree, but it needs to be done in a very smart manner, thinking about everything that you're doing and what's taking place there, because as it is right now, I play by your rules. But I can put a hog farm wherever I want to, beside of these people that's worried about a few campers getting put beside of them. I mean, there's nothing we can do about it. So, and I know y'all are addressing that. But one of the things, I've lived here my whole life up till now, hope I make it a few more years. But we have changed in my lifetime industrial parks. We went down different roads, and no offense to Rob, but every time we get a new mayor, we sell an old industrial park, or we change plans. But we need to get a central plan for our county going forward. A 20-year plan, a 50-year plan, and even a 100-year plan. I know that's all going to change, but that's something that I would like to see y'all think about and consider when we're doing things. Another thing that I would like to look into, and I talked to Casey Kelly, they're doing some stuff with the school system and with all the schools and principals, trying to figure out what the education process is on a couple of things. And unfortunately, in the day we live in, children don't get an education at home. They do not get taught common sense. They don't get taught a lot of stuff. And we have one of the most beautiful counties in the United States. And we have a huge amount of government property here with the national park and the national forest. So to educate our children to be good stewards of that going forward, I would like to see y'all look at that with the school board and adopt some programs, whether it be forestry folks coming into the schools and having a little program to teach these kids about not littering and how to take care of our forest and our resources that we have moving forward. So that's another whole subject. But with that, everybody's bringing up the tires now with the landfill and stuff. And I've heard a few discussions about that. And I heard a little while ago, the answer to one of the problems is, well, if people start throwing tires out in the county and start piling them up somewhere, the problem is now that the county's having to pay for that disposal fee that we've got. And, I mean, I don't mind taking my tires to landfill, stacking them in the trailer and paying the fee. But unfortunately, a lot of people are not going to do that. But the answer to my question was, well, if they do that, the sheriff's department is going to take the prisoners out of jail, which is a great plan for them to clean up. I agree they should be out doing trash pickup. But they're going to go clean up that tire dump place. So once again, who's footing the bill for that? There's going to be a disposal fee. You can't give them away. If you take them, it's still going to the county agency that. So, I mean, it's kind of like, I mean, I'm sorry to say it, that's dumb. I mean, it's just not smart business to cut that off and then turn around and say that we're going to send the sheriff's department with prisoners out to pick the tires up, and that's the problem solved. Because we all know people are going to do it. Into that one. tourism is something that I believe in. I don't know if y'all know this, campgrounds, I built a campground in Cocke. I played by the rules of the county, I did everything. I understand that there needs to be a huge amount of regulation around this whole campers and junk and everything else. But our campground, the last year that I owned it, brought in well over $1 million. So the county's part of that was huge in sales tax, hotel motel tax, then the money that was spent in the county by the people staying here. So I say in your regulations and zoning, don't cut your nose off to spite your face. Make sure you clean up the correct problem. And don't ruin it for all developers, because they're not all bad. Make sure you're just trying to straighten up everything to make our county beautiful and to keep everything going good. And then another thing that needs to be addressed in our zoning and stuff is we have got roads in this county that you can't even hardly pass through because people are parking junk cars on. So once again, zoning will take care of that. And I talked to CD about that a little earlier. They're going to start towing some cars. So that'll help us there. And just want to make sure that you guys are seeing all sides of this stuff and try to do your very best to make sure that we get good development where we draw tourism and we work on our own county roads. I know y'all have been dealing with this for 20 years, but coming out of Hartford, the GPS gets y'all and takes you through that. So we need to spend some money to make our county beautiful for the people that's coming through and make it easy for them to get there. Because they're coming no matter what they do. And now they're crashing every other day. There's a crash. There was a bad one on 321, not a county road, but out near Donald the other day. I mean, we just got to do all we can to make it attractive for our tourists to come and for people who want to live here and make sure that they follow the rules that y'all set forward. So please, make good rules.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Wood. Before he sits down, any questions?
We're working on the tower problem. I mean, it is a problem, but I mean, just because we want to try to do things right way, it doesn't give somebody the right to break the law.
Yeah, but you know well I do.
I know, but every other county's doing it. I don't know why we have to be the Wild Wild West and not do it right. So that's the way I'm looking at it. And you can always raise the penalty on dumping tires. You can make it bigger, you just kind of make it smaller.
Well, and can I say one more thing about that? Buy some game cameras and put in these places.
We tried that one time a couple of years ago. We set 2 cameras up, and then one of the TDOT officers, or TDOT patrolman, and they stole one of our cameras.
All right, next on the agenda is John Faison and company addressing the county legislative body regarding tiny homes and campgrounds new regulations. And I didn't tell Mr. Williamson, but fortunately, he stayed within the bounds anyway, about 5 minutes, okay?
My name is John Faison, and I have the privilege to live and do business in one of the most beautiful markets. I really believe that. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you this evening. Thank you to those that have taken up or spent a lot of time with me in the last month. Andy and Wilma and Pete and Mayor Rob and Phil Morgan. Collectively, it was probably 10 or 12, 15 hours time listening to my concerns, and I certainly appreciate that, to be able to participate and have people in serious consideration some concerns. One of the things that I and many other people appreciate about Cocke County is the freedoms that we enjoy, especially when it comes to governance of our own properties, the government regulations. I lived in places recently where Big Brother told us when we could water our lawn, and that's not a wonderful place to be. Naturally, when I was made aware of a raft of rules, multiple hundreds of pages, 100 pages, concerning campgrounds and RVs and tiny homes, I became alarmed because of my experience in other places Big Brother. And The concern, this concern was the genesis of those meetings that I had with many of you. Like many others in the county, I have a libertarian outlook towards governance. And after many hours of conversation with some of you and with others that are not here or not in the county government, I can see that some of the necessity of some soft zoning. I had already heard the zoning, which I did not think it was good now. But I already heard some of that. And as I talked with many of you, I have heard that you likewise, people that I talk to, value liberty. And that's one of the things that draws many, many people here, the liberty, especially when it comes to property rights. So I would really, really, really like to encourage you to take a look at our personal liberties, especially when it comes to our property. I heard what the gentleman from Parisville said, and I can sympathize. I've heard from the mayor and from others some serious concerns. But that has to be balanced really well with our personal liberties. And I can tell you, coming from Raleigh, North Carolina, they didn't get it right. I can't even change a fan in my house without permission from the city. And so, please tread light with this zoning. It's important. It's one of the things that makes this place so wonderful. Secondly, when it comes to these regulations, and that goes to I got on zoning first, but the county attorney started talking about zoning, but I was interested in the regulations around RVs and county points. Secondly, we heard some differing things about grandfathering. That's one of the things that really alarmed me because we heard contradictory things. I am happy to say that my reason for being here tonight was based upon my serious concern about grandfathering. But since that time, I spent some time with the mayor and some other people, and they assured me that there's very strict state laws in Tennessee about grandfathering the businesses, and that they would be diligent in following those laws. And furthermore, it's not just the businesses that need to be protected. As you probably know very well, there's a lot of people who live in RVs. They have chosen to live in RVs of all economic strata. And those liberties need to be protected as well as grandfathering, not just the business owners like myself. And lastly, I would like to propose that the CLB adopt a citizens advisory council, especially in light of zoning. When this thing came out about RVs, it didn't come out very well. It made people think they were going to lose their homes and lose their businesses, and it wasn't communicated very well. And part of that is because citizens were not involved. And I have participated in other places in citizen advisory councils. And there are some level-headed people out here that are not on the CLB, that are not in county government. And the mayor and I didn't agree when we started talking, and we got to where we came to Phil Morgan and I spent about 3 hours together. Some of that was knocking heads. So we came to be, these other points. I really think the Citizens Advisory Council, perhaps we could appoint one person from each district to just, on a volunteer basis, to sit with the planning commission and hear what's going on and participate in some meaningful way. And then as information gets out, it can come out through, not through the sunshine, but also through citizens who said, hey, I was there. This is what they said. It's not always done in back rooms and secret meetings.
All right, Mr. Fazio, how about another minute wrap up?
Yeah, I'll let Mr. Gallo finish up.
Well, there's one more minute on this subject, so whoever wants to take it.
Yeah, he can do that.
Okay.
Thank you.
And your name is?
My name is Jeff Gow.
Jeff Cocke.
Yeah, I own Castle Springs RV.
Okay.
And so just to echo John's sentiments, thank you for the CLB members that met with us and been able to make the time. My primary concern as an owner of the park was the grandfathering of the business, and I believe that we folks who chosen to live there, and we're very grateful that people to this understanding that it's required by state law anyway, so it's really not that much of a discussion. But we would love to see it formalized, get beyond the handshake. We'd like to see the needs of existing businesses standing up and being counted and being considered formally exempted.
and just to have that kind of discussion to separate the obviously tough decisions that County has to make going forward, and separate those decisions from protecting the existing businesses and residents.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Any questions for the gentleman before they sit down? Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
All right, Mr. Saltzman's already addressed the body. So, we're down to miscellaneous, anything miscellaneous? Mr. Brown?
Yeah. I'd like to make a motion that we request the highway department to put no through traffic signs on Caney Creek, Lindsay Gap, Groundhog, and Trail Hollow. Those roads are
All
dangerous.
right, give us just a second, I'll get that wrote down here. Yeah, we will need to, if we're gonna do that, we're gonna, let me ask you this, Brian, have you talked, before we go any farther and get too deep in this, have you talked to the highway department yet about
I
it?
talked to Casey about it. He said he'd turn in a recommendation, but he said he wouldn't guarantee anything.
I'm just thinking, before, of course, we can't make them, and I know you're wanting to, whatever we vote on tonight, we can't make them do it. I'm trying to think if there's a way that we can contact them, or maybe have them come to the next meeting.
This is a request.
Okay, what if we request them to come to the next meeting? Let's talk about it.
That'd be fine.
Are you okay with that? That way we
Okay.
won't even have to suspend the rules.
But we need to do something about this.
Okay.
I mean, if you don't think there's a need for it, go up and drive it one day.
And can you give me the list of, hey, can you give me the list of those roads again? Katy Creek, Lindsay Gap, and Groundhog, Trailhawk, okay. Or representative.
You get Lindsay Gap.
She got it. Okay, thank you, Mr. Anybody else? Sorry.
I was just gonna sort of second that. It's not my district, but a lot of people it's close to my district, and they've talked to me about that. They're like, it's a one-way road, and
Yeah, it is.
all the tourists are going right through there
Yeah.
to get to Gatlinburg.
Yeah, try to pull a singing trailer down there.
I passed one yesterday, pulling a big camper.
Yeah, been there, done that. Anybody else? Sheriff?
Just real quick, I just want to thank you all openly, you know, from the mayor, the chairman, the commissioners, the finance director, and just, I'm gonna be honest with you, you know, to pass a budget and fulfill the needs of what we've done in just this year alone, compared to what other counties is raising taxes 30 and 38 and 40 cents, and you all pass a budget without a tax increase, you're living in a blessed community, because I'm hearing a lot of aggravation, a lot of people complaining from other counties, like, well, how are we going to pass a budget? And we got one that just cost us 30% on a tax increase. So the budget committee and everybody that worked hard on that, your law enforcement and the pay has increased so well. You know, we got people applying now, we're having to turn them away, which has never happened. But just thank you openly in front of everybody, and thanks Cocke County for giving us the opportunity, sir. Thank you.
Mr. Hudson, request to speak? Okay, maybe you didn't. All right, anybody else? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn? Mr. Bryant, second. Mr. Pleasure, all those in favor say aye. Aye.
Done.